developments in this case and exactly where we are to date. Coming up on the 1-year anniversary, this has been a really difficult time for the family, and they obviously have been in contact with the media, so we wanted to address everybody all at once. This tragedy for the family has been unimaginable in the sense that it took somebody that was the center of their universe permanently and forever, thereby altering the course of their lives. This was not a normal family unit wherein somebody was an uncle or a brother or a sister and you saw them occasionally. This was a family that lived together, that worked together, and that was with each other at all times. This was the focal point of the family, Tim Hurley. He was the person that held the family together. He was the glue that held the family together, both financially and emotionally. Now Tim is gone, and the family is going to describe to you how that has all been going for them. For the family to have watched the video that America has now seen was beyond tragic, being helpless, seeing somebody moments before they murdered their loved one. But now the family has decided to fight back against what they believe to be and what we believe to be a very preventable and foreseeable event based upon our investigation to date. And so we have done a great deal of investigating this claim since it occurred, and it's our opinion that this was both preventable and very foreseeable. And for that reason, they have filed a formal complaint in this matter seeking damages for the loss of their loved one. We look forward to the process of proving this complaint that we have filed and all allegations contained therein. We have been disheartened to learn many facts that have come to light through the course of our investigation and also have many remaining questions as well. But I wanted to take this opportunity to allow the family to speak with you and give you their thoughts as we embark on this next step of getting justice for Tim.
Well, a year ago this Saturday, our lives changed forever. Tim went to work and never came home. He was my uncle, and he was a devoted son and a brother who they worked as a team, as Morgan said. We weren't a traditional family. I grew up in the house with my 2 aunts, my uncle, my grandmother, and my mother. It took a long time to realize why we were the unique family we were. And my mother was disabled, and my 2 aunts and uncle worked as a team to take care of her and me and raise me. And then my grandmother got sick, and she has had 2 strokes. And Tim was a huge player in everything from teaching me how to ride a bike to helping Gramps take a shower to helping pay the bills, of course. My Aunt Susan, his sister, is here, and the 2 of them, since my grandmother had her stroke, I, of course, had moved out since. But they worked as a unit. They took care of her as a unit. They worked and paid the bills while my other aunt was her 24-hour caregiver. And without Tim, we don't have the physical help to help her as do regular day stuff as use the restroom or take a shower because they're in their 60s and they can't pick her up. So my cousin and I are active in that. But I never realized how much we relied on Tim and how much Tim really did for our family until he wasn't there anymore. He was my dad in every sense of the word. And although I'm definitely mourning, it's hard to grieve the way I need to because we're so focused on my grandmother and her care, and she is just shattered and heartbroken. And we've done everything we can this year to try and, there's no moving past this, but to try to get as close to normal as we possibly can. And we just miss him physically, emotionally, financially, in every way. He, like he said, it was the glue that held our family together. And in the last year, we found out many little information that we believe it could have been prevented, and that just makes it even worse. Because Tim could have been here. He could have watched Alex, his nephew, graduate high school, or he could have walked me down the aisle. And he can't because it wasn't prevented. Thank you.
We've all heard the idea that you should do the right thing even when no one's watching. Well, quite frankly, that's what we believe the evidence is going to show, is that the right thing was not done by the businesses involved in the setup and the placement, if you will, of a set of facts that led to this tragedy. We're all going to pass on one day or another, but this is not the natural transition. This isn't what should have happened to Tim, and it's certainly not what should have been thrown into this family's life. From the standpoint of what we are fairly confident the evidence is going to show, information was available that if the businesses at issue would have simply done the most basic checks, would have simply followed the most basic responsibilities, this would not have happened. And it's our position that for a society and for an area of Longboat Key's position, the designation of protecting not only the people who work there, the people who visit there, and the people who live there, this absolutely, when the facts are presented, will be shown as something that never should have happened. Thank you.
Any questions?
What are some of these new facts that have come to light?
Well, our complaint really alleges what we believe to be the basis for liability in this matter. And so that, in that regard, in large part, we're going to allow our complaint to speak for itself in regards to the specific allegations. And I think that it does speak in large part to many of the foundational aspects of the liability in the case. However, this is a case that is ever evolving. There's much detail that's not contained within our complaint that we intend to discuss with the responsible entities during the course of depositions and also through discovery materials.
I realize that you guys aren't just suing the resort yourself, you're suing the security company as well. The other victim in this double murder worked for that security company. I haven't read the complaint yet, we weren't given that yet. Are you blaming Kevin for any of this, or is this simply the management of the security company?
Well, I think that ultimately we've named a couple of different entities in this particular loss. Kevin was senselessly murdered in the course and scope of his employment. Kevin is in a unique set of circumstances wherein I do not believe that he's presenting a claim, but I'm not sure of that. But ultimately, are we blaming Kevin? I don't think that ultimately Kevin, being in the position that he was in, could have done anything more than he did. So it's the crux of our claim is certainly not focused on any conduct of Kevin.
What message do you hope the suit conveys to not only Soda, but to other resorts and security companies?
Well, I think it should send a message for security companies to provide a diligent background search before hiring employees. I think the most basic thing that needs to be done before hiring anybody in such a sensitive topic such as security is a detailed background check of your employees. And we hope that ultimately the resort and the security company do a detailed analysis of their policies and procedures regarding to security on premises and to their hiring policies and procedures. And then hopefully a life can be saved from this suit. A large part of what we do is preventing tragedies like this from occurring in the future. That's what my business aims to do. A tragedy occurs, we then file suit, we show the responsible entities where they failed our client, and then they learn from that in the process. But not only do they learn, but others learn in the process, because of the public court system. I don't know if you have anything to share on that as well.
Well, I do, and from the standpoint of where society is in general, with the crime and what we all have to face and deal with, it is just basic responsibility on behalf of any business to do a background check. Whether you're going to be a clerk at 7-Eleven or you're going to be working at McDonald's, you need to run a background check to find out, is that individual going to be someone who's presentable, and most importantly, someone who's not going to present a difficulty, create, or otherwise conduct a crime. When you're talking about a security company, you're talking about a business that people go to rely on, to trust, and to absolutely pay their money for services to protect not only themselves, their guests, their workers. And so you have an ability where you should be able to rely on the fact that they've done their due diligence, that the folks who they send out, designed to protect you, your friends, your family, have absolutely been vetted. You know, if you're running a daycare, you're not going to hire someone who is suspected of being a pedophile to watch out for the children. You make sure that what you're designed to do, what your services are going to be absolutely vetted and on the money. And when you hire someone to protect you, you better make sure that the people going out there are appropriate. So that's what I think as far as the security company is concerned.
This resort was new. It had just opened, 3 months before this had happened. In your guys' experience, is this something, do you think that, when you see cases like this, are a lot of them the same type of thing? They're still getting on their feet. They might not have done enough work ahead of opening?
Well, I think that the security company had certainly been in business far before this hotel was in existence. And so their policies and procedures and vetting mechanisms should have been established well before this hotel came into existence.
And again, forgive me, because along with her, I've not had a chance to read the complaint myself yet. A lot of blame, as you described, falls upon Victory Security. Obviously, Zoda Beach Resort entrusted this company with providing good candidates to protect them. So, what responsibility does Zoda Beach Resort bear in this crime?
You want to take it?
Sure. What we're talking about is the safety of the individuals at that business's premises. That is what the law refers to as a non-delegable duty. If I asked you to come over and mow my lawn, and you got someone else, a buddy, to come over and take care of that, that's a different situation than my responsibility to make sure people are safe on my premises. So when the hotel or a business hires an independent contractor to perform the services that are otherwise a non-delegable duty, it does not relieve the business owner of their responsibility. Certainly they've got someone else to now come into play and do the job, if you will, but if the job is done negligently, if the job is done improperly, it's not only on the shoulders of the contractor brought in, it still remains on the owner's shoulders, if you will, because it was their duty to make sure it was done correctly.
And that's the law in Florida. Alrighty, well, thank you for your time this morning.
One last question for you, Christine, actually. Thank you so much for sharing your story, but how do you want the public to remember your uncle?
His big smile and his generosity, even if it was just with his time. He was a good man. He was the best of man. And just his love for life and how he wanted everyone's life to be better. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you got it.
I can send the email so that you can just print the instructions, click the links, it will take you right there, it's got the case number on it,
Yeah.
and you'll have all the information you need.